"You're nothing without this family," my father snapped, his voice bouncing off the faded brick walls of our family's struggling pizzeria in downtown Cleveland. "Nothing. Who do you think you are, turning down the manager position to go to college?" I stayed where I was, steady, my acceptance letter from the Wharton School of Business gripped in my hand. Around us, my siblings shifted uncomfortably. My older brother Vince crossed his arms, smirking. My younger sister Lila glanced at me, part pity, part envy. "The place is failing, Dad," I said evenly. "We all know it. My inheritance from Grandma could either keep this place alive another year, or you can walk out and abandon your family," Mom cut in sharply, drying her hands on a towel. "Like you're better than us?" Vince chuckled from behind the counter. "Let her go. She'll come crawling back when she realizes no one cares about her fancy degrees." I looked around. The cracked vinyl booths, the outdated ovens, the echo of a place that used to be full. Romano's Pizzeria had been a neighborhood landmark for over 35 years, but the world had moved on. We hadn't. "I'm not abandoning anyone," I said quietly. "I'm trying to build something better. For all of us." Dad gave a short, bitter laugh. "Better than your family's legacy? Get out, Sophia. Don't come back until you remember where you belong." That was 12 years ago. Now, at 34, I sat in my corner office on the 48th floor of Horizon Tower, glass walls opening to a view of the Cleveland skyline. My company, Aurora Hospitality Group, was one of the largest restaurant and cafe networks in the Midwest. We ran dozens of brands under different names. Names like Redwood Grill, where Vince had just been hired as a kitchen supervisor, or Maple and Main Cafes, where Leela had started last month as a barista, or Classic Pie Co., which had just acquired the failing Romano's Pizzeria. They had no idea the empire belonged to me. "Is Romano," my assistant Carla's voice came through the intercom, "your father's district manager interview for Classic Pie Co. is in 30 minutes. I smiled, fingers brushing the frame of my Wharton diploma. "Perfect. And my mother?" "She starts orientation at Maple and Main today at noon," Carla replied. "Still no clue?" "None," she said. "They all applied separately, desperate for work after the pizzeria closed last month. They think they're joining different corporate chains. They don't realize every paycheck comes from you." I opened the employee roster on my screen. "Have they run into each other yet?" "Not yet," Carla said. "They will," I murmured. "Soon." The thought made me lean back in my chair, the city sprawling out beneath me. Years ago, they told me I was nothing without them. Now, they worked for me, without knowing it. And when the time came when they finally put the pieces together, I'd be ready. Not to gloat, not to humiliate, just to let them see what nothing had built. They were scattered across different cities now, but all were scheduled for next week's company-wide leadership training. I smiled to myself. That was where they would finally learn their new company's philosophy, structure, and ownership. Exactly. I rose from my desk, smoothing the lapel of my navy Armani suit. "Well then," I murmured, "let's not keep my father waiting. After all, family comes first." "Doesn't it?" The training was being held in the Horizon Tower Grand Conference Hall, just 2 floors below my office. Through the one-way glass of the observation room, I watched my family trickle in separately, each clutching an employee handbook, each entirely unaware the others had been hired. "Sophia," Carla's voice came through my earpiece. "Your father just arrived at reception. He's complaining about the dress code." I laughed quietly, remembering how he used to mock my fancy business clothes. Now he was wearing a too-tight rental suit, required for his new district manager role. Recognition spread slowly. First, Vince spotted Mom across the lobby. Both froze, brows knitting. Then Lila walked in, stopping mid-stride when she saw them. Finally, Dad stepped off the elevator, his face turning deep crimson as he realized his entire family was there. "What are you all doing here?" His voice carried across the marble floor. "You work for Classic Pie Co.?" Vince asked. "Maple and Main Cafes," Mom added. "Redwood Grill," Lila finished. They stared at each other, the truth dawning. They had all taken jobs with the same corporate giant, Aurora Hospitality Group, without knowing it. "Welcome, everyone," Carla's voice boomed through the speakers. "Please proceed to the main conference room for the Aurora Hospitality Orientation." They filed in, still avoiding each other, still clinging to the pride that had kept them apart for years. The lights dimmed. On the massive screens, a documentary-style video began. Aurora Hospitality Group was founded 12 years ago by a young entrepreneur who believed in preserving the heart of family dining while modernizing its reach. From a single cafe to more than 200 restaurants, the vision has remained the same. Honor the past, innovate the future. Footage of smiling teams and bustling kitchens filled the screen. Then came the section on recent acquisitions. Dad shifted in his seat as an image appeared. Romano's Pizzeria, our old family business. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. "Is that, She stopped short as the next slide appeared. Me. Speaking at industry conferences, accepting national awards, standing with governors and CEOs. The daughter they had told was nothing larger than life in crisp, high definition. They hadn't seen me in 12 years, hadn't bothered to follow my career, but here it was, impossible to ignore. "And now," the narrator said, "please welcome the founder and CEO of Aurora Hospitality Group, Sophia Romano." The room froze. I stepped onto the stage under the warm glow of the spotlight, scanning their stunned faces. I didn't gloat. I didn't smirk. I simply smiled and said, "It's good to see my family here today. Welcome to Aurora." A designer suit, confident stride, the bearing of someone who commanded not just a room, but an empire. 12 years ago, I had stood in my family's pizzeria and been told I was nothing without them, that I needed to learn where I belonged. Now, as I looked directly at my family from the stage, my father's face drained of color. Mom's hands trembled. Vince stared at the floor. "Well," I said evenly, "I did learn where I belonged." I stepped closer to the podium. "I belonged everywhere you said I couldn't go, every height you said I couldn't reach, every success you said I couldn't achieve." The next slide appeared on the massive screens: growth charts, acquisitions, billions in revenue. Aurora Hospitality Group now owns over 500 restaurants, cafes, and diners across the country. We employ more than 10,000 people. I paused, letting the words settle. "And yes," I added with a small smile, "that includes everyone in this room." The realization hit them visibly. They weren't just working for the same company. They were working for me. "Some of you," I continued, letting my gaze pass from Dad to Mom to Vince, "are here because your previous businesses failed, because you refused to adapt, to innovate, to see beyond what was comfortable." Lila glanced up, eyes shining with unshed tears. She'd been the only one to quietly encourage my ambitions, even if she'd never dared to oppose Dad openly. "But Aurora believes in second chances," I said, my voice softening. "In building something stronger from the ashes of failure. In proving that success isn't about where you come from. It's about where you're willing to go." After the applause for the presentation faded, I had Carla escort my family to my private conference room. They entered in silence, pride and defiance stripped away. Beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city stretched out, and in the distance they could see the newly renovated Romano's Pizzeria, now a thriving, modern bistro under Aurora's management. "Sit," I said, motioning to the leather chairs. "We have a lot to discuss." "Sophia," Mom's voice was small, almost fragile. "We didn't know." "That's the point," I cut in. "You never tried to know. Too busy telling me what I couldn't do to notice what I was building." I tapped the control panel on the table, and their employee profiles filled the wall display. Vince Romano, kitchen supervisor, Redwood Grill, 3 written warnings for insubordination. Maria Romano, server, Maple and Main Cafes, difficulty adapting to the digital ordering system. Anthony Romano, district manager, Classic Pie Co., noted for resisting modernization initiatives. "The old ways worked fine," Dad muttered, but even he didn't sound convinced. "Did they?" I asked, pulling up Romano's Pizzeria's last 5 years of financial records before my acquisition. "Is that why our family business bled money year after year?" Why we couldn't afford new equipment? Why we served the same menu for 4 decades while the neighborhood changed around us? Mila's voice was barely above a whisper. I tried to tell them, Sophia, about delivery apps, online ordering, updating the menu. I met her eyes. I know you did. And this time, I planned to make sure she was heard. I leaned back in my chair, the city lights glinting off the glass behind me. If you think this conversation ended here, you haven't heard the half of it. Subscribe now so you don't miss what happened when the real family reckoning began. I know, I said with a small smile to Lila. That's why you're being promoted to Regional Innovation Director. What? Dad jerked upright in his chair. But she's the youngest. Age doesn't matter, I cut in, my tone cold. Competence does. Something you never understood. I stood and walked toward the wall of glass, looking out over my city. The city where Aurora Hospitality Group had transformed hundreds of struggling family eateries into thriving brands. You once told me I was nothing without this family, I said, my reflection staring back at me in the glass. But look around. Every restaurant in our portfolio, every job we provide, every family business we've saved. That's what I built while I was supposedly nothing. Vince finally spoke, his voice rough. Then why hire us? Why not just let the pizzeria die? Because unlike some people, I replied, turning to face them, I understand what family really means. It's not blind loyalty. It's not clinging to the past just because it's familiar. It's growth, evolution, building something better for the next generation. I tapped the console and the wall screens lit up, renderings of the renovated Romano's Pizzeria, sleek yet warm, with an updated menu and integrated ordering technology. Romano's will remain a neighborhood cornerstone, I explained, but it will succeed because of innovation, not nostalgia, because of progress, not pride. And us? Mom asked quietly. That depends, I said. You can learn and grow with the company, or stay stuck in the past, your choice. But this time, you'll have to earn your positions. No special treatment because you share my last name. Dad stood abruptly, anger cracking through his stunned silence. You think you can just buy our family's legacy? Control us with your money and power? No, Dad, I said calmly. I already did. Every paycheck you've cashed, every decision you've carried out, every order you've filled, it all came from my company, my vision, my success. I pressed another button, and their new contracts appeared on the screen. You have a choice, I said. Stay, and I'll teach you how a modern business works, or leave with nothing. Again, this is revenge, Vince muttered. No, I corrected, holding his gaze. This is business. The business you said I'd fail at. The success you swore I'd never have. The future you refused to see. And for the first time all day, no one argued. Lila rose from her chair and walked to my side of the table. I want to learn, she said quietly, to be part of building something better. One by one, the others signed their contracts, not because they wanted to, because they had no other choice. Years of pride, outdated habits, and resistance to change dissolved in the face of undeniable success. Welcome to Aurora Hospitality Group, I said as the last pen left the page. Here, family isn't about clinging to the past, it's about creating a better future. They filed toward the door, moving slower now, like the weight of the moment had finally settled on their shoulders. Dad lingered, his hand resting on the frame. We were wrong, he said softly. About everything. Yes, I replied without hesitation. You were. I sat back at my desk. Your training begins tomorrow. Don't be late. Aurora values punctuality. They left, and I watched their reflections fade in the glass behind me. Beyond the windows, the city pulsed with life. Delivery trucks unloading at our cafes, servers greeting customers at our bistros, chefs perfecting recipes in kitchens I had built. Thousands of employees working in my restaurants, thousands of customers enjoying spaces I had dreamed into existence, all while my family once thought I was nothing. Sometimes success isn't about shouting, I told you so. It's about becoming so indisputably right that the very people who doubted you end up working for the success they swore you'd never have. I picked up my phone and called Carla. Schedule a family dinner for next week, I said. At the renovated Romano's. There was a brief pause. The one with the new menu launch? That's the one, I smiled. Let's show them exactly what nothing built while they weren't paying attention. Because the best revenge isn't just succeeding. It's signing the paychecks of those who once told you that you couldn't. If you've been listening to my story, you already know I'm not here just to talk about business. I'm here to talk about what it means to be underestimated, dismissed, and told you're nothing. And then to turn that into the fire that builds everything you've ever dreamed of. I've carried those words with me for 12 years. Not as a wound, but as a weapon. And now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever been told you couldn't do something? That you weren't good enough, smart enough, or ready? How did you handle it? Did you walk away? Did you fight back? Or are you still waiting for your moment to prove them wrong? I want to read your stories. I want to know the names of the people who inspired your rise, even if they did it by doubting you. And here's my advice, from someone who has stood on both sides of that glass wall. Do not waste your time trying to change the minds of those who refuse to see your worth. Build so boldly, so unapologetically that your results speak for themselves. Learn relentlessly, adapt without fear, and never let comfort be the enemy of growth. If you've connected with my journey, if you want to see how this story unfolds, or if you just need that reminder that you can create your own definition of success, then subscribe. Stick around for the next part, not just because I want you here, but because I know the next chapter might just be the one that changes how you see your own story. Let's build something better together.